Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Arctic Pauper Show. I am your host, Arctic Ghost, and this time around I'm bringing you another edition of Burn. Burn got a few new tools from, I believe, the newest set. The name escapes me. Not the one coming out, the one that already came out. Amonkhet, I think is what it's called. Whatever. In Firebrand Archer, and also in Modern Masters 3 with Magma Jet, so I figured I'd try that out as well. So far, so good. So for those of you who don't really know what Burn is basically the non-creature combo version of what Red Deck Wins is. The combo is you assemble 7 lightning bolts in your hand, you know, through things like Lava Spike, Chain Lightning Bolt, etc. Point them at your opponent's head, and win the game. It's very boring to some opponents, but I find it fun. Burn, of course, is in pretty much every format and has been since, not the dawn of Magic, but for a very long time. It's in Modern, it's in Legacy, it's in Pauper, it's been in Standard, and I've played against it in Vintage. No, I've never lost to it, but I've played against it in Vintage before. Burn is just a good deck. It's never bad, it's never the best deck, it's just always solid. It's always a threat to win a tournament, it's always a threat to do well in a tournament, it's never to not be taken seriously, so, you know, that whole spiel. But I'm sure most of you know what Burn is, so I'm not going to waste your time. Let's go through the deck piece by piece to see what we're working with. We got 19 lands, we got 1 Forgotten Cave, and we have 18 mountains. I know a lot of people like to have more Forgotten Caves, but I hate having so many lands that come into play tapped. So I decided to just forego that and play only 1 Forgotten Cave to kind of play a 19th land if I need to, but to also just have like a 59 card deck. I might add a second Forgotten Cave in the future, but for now I'm just going to stick with 1. We have the usual 4 Chain Lightning, 4 Lava Spike, 4 Lightning Bolt, you know, the usual trifecta. We have 2 Needle Drop. Where most people are playing 4, I decided to take 2 of them out for Magma Jet, because the scrying has been really good. And also, it's an instant 2 damage. Though Needle Drop is very good now, especially with cards like Firebrand Archer, Curse of the Pierced Heart, especially with Thermal Alchemist. I just think that the scrying from Magma Jet has been very invaluable, so that's why I chose to play it. 4 Curse of the Pierced Heart. This is a pretty great card against any blue deck because it's just reoccurring damage every turn that they have to deal with. It's also pretty good against Cop Red because it's a way of grinding your opponent down. You know, back in the day you used to just lose straight up to Cop Red, but now Curse of the Pierced Heart is kind of your way of helping that interaction. I guess I should say. I'm not really, I guess, matchup against Cop Red. Speaking of which, one of the newest cards, Firebrand Archer. Now, a lot of us did not really think that this card was too good in the beginning, I myself included, only because it's a 2/1. So I figured, it dies to literally everything under the sun, and removal is like the #1 thing of Pauper. But the fact of the matter is, it turns most of your spells into Lightning Bolts or Fire Blasts. That's why cards like Firebrand Archer and Thermal Alchemist are so good, because it turns literally every Lightning Bolt you have into a Fire Blast. It turns every Magma Jet into a Fire Blast. It turns every Needle Drop into a Shock. So that's what makes it so good. And I would never leave home without them. I'm going to be playing 2 Flame Rift. I know that budget reasons, but I don't like to bring you the budget versions of the decks. I like to bring you the best versions. If I was going to replace the Flame Rifts, options include Incinerate, adding the 4th Searing Blaze, and going up to 3 Needle Drop. I would add more Needle Drops before I ever add more Magma Jets, because Needle Drop is still a 1 mana cost spell. So that's what I would replace with. But for now, I like the Flame Rifts because it still deal 4 damage for only 2 mana, which is pretty huge when you're trying to race. I already touched on Magma Jet. You have Thermal Alchemist, of course, because this card's just insane in this deck. It just helps you win so much quicker. You got Searing Blaze. A lot of people play 4, but I only play 3 because you don't play fetch lands. So that's why I play 3 in this format instead of in Modern where you play 4, or Legacy where you play 4 possibly. 4 Rift Bolt, of course, because at the worst it's 1 mana. Next turn deal 3. At best, it wins the game. That's pretty much what it is. And then Fire Blast. You pretty much want to always draw Fire Blast in this deck because it's your big finisher, so that's why you play 4. You can go down to 3. I've seen people do it in the past, but I don't think I'd ever do it. So that's the main deck. It's pretty much stock from where it is, except for the Flame Rifts. Looking at the sideboard, you got 4 Martyr of Ashes against aggro decks, 3 Pyroblast against blue decks to help force through big spells like Fire Blast, Flame Rift, Curse of the Pierced Heart, Thermal Alchemist, whatever you need. 1 Flaring Pain, just because you only need 1, really. 4 Smash Smithereens. They are better than Gorilla Shaman. That's why I don't have Gorilla Shamans here. The fact of the matter is, they destroy Prophetic Prisms to screw over Tron. They're better against Affinity because not only do they kill something, but they also deal 3 damage. The 3 damage matters way more than just being able to screw over Affinity with Gorilla Shaman. And then 3 Molten Rain against Teachings, against Tron, of course, you know, anything of that nature. So that is the deck. There's not really much more to touch on. I'm going to run this deck through a couple test matches. We're going to see how it does, and I will be back for that. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.